Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Tally. This is episode 51, and I'm your host, Brian Tally. The mission and the goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and on Spotify. The online information and handles are all located on the scrolling ticker at the bottom portion of your screen. Be sure to like and share the program as well. You can also support the program by going to Anchor FM or Spotify and clicking the support button. Folks, become a program sponsor today. Program sponsorships include a custom written script to advertise your business to its fullest potential to get the results you're looking for. Let me help you in marketing your business and advertise right here on this program today. To learn more, email me directly at thetallybill@gmail.com. That's thetallybill@gmail.com. We have a very special guest joining us on today's program. I met Dave 13 years ago while visiting my late Uncle Ricky. God bless his soul. And I know he's looking down on us, one of the most finest men I've ever known, my Uncle Ricky. We were out at a bar. It was Tuesday night. It was biker night. And I come across this guy with a beer in his hand and a Steelers jersey, and we began to talk. Dave is born and raised in Youngstown, Ohio. Dave Fecko has had quite the interesting life. He's a passionate and extremely dedicated sports fan. You can always find him strategizing with his fantasy football lineups, whether it's analyzing matchups, breaking down film, or checking the latest injuries. He is always engaged in his forecasting the depth charts of who to pick up off the waiver wire. Yes, my friends, this diehard Steelers fan lives, breathes, and sleeps football. Youngstown, Ohio will do that to people. Youngstown is well known for tough people, the working class, steel mills, auto plants, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, the mob, and football. Dave currently deals poker and he drives for Uber in his spare time to make ends meet. Dave Fecko, a.k.a. the Feckster, which I like to call him, is as real and genuine as they get. A salt of the earth kind of guy. I'm honored to call him a friend and a brother. Dave will share some stories today and add a ton of real life value to anyone out there listening today. Dave, what is up?
What's up, Brother Tally?
Unreal, man.
Thank you for the intro.
I wrote it from the heart, man. It's all true, right?
Oh, of course. I love the fantasy football bit, though.
I had to, and guys, let me tell you, I got to give a huge shout out to the Popovich brothers. And these are also awesome guys. I used to play in their fantasy football league, and they kicked me out because I won it back to back. And look, I had the belt. I retired at a good age. I kind of rode off in that sunset, being the man of that football league. What did we call that league, by the way, when it was me, you?
It's 250 league is what we called it.
Yeah, it was the 250. Yeah, it was the Youngstown 250. Oh, man. That was some good old times. And then I know we've been to Vegas together, and we kind of crashed a couple bars there back in the day, again, with the Popovich brothers. It's Mirko. It's Mirko and what's the other one?
And Milan.
Yeah, Milan. Good men. Good salt of the earth guys. You got some great friends there in Ohio. And again, the commonalities between all of us with sports and fantasy football and, just really fantasy sports and, just having these commonalities to enjoy life, to live life, and put things out there that really fire us up and that we're passionate about, that we can look forward to, and kind of turn the world off for a few minutes and just be engaged on the gridiron and watch your guys out there and cheer them on and hopefully win some money while you're doing it, right?
Hey, that's what it's all about. It's about having fun, camaraderie. It's all about talking trash to your friends. You know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's so many ways in this country and in life that you can have camaraderie. It doesn't always just come, in the military or the first responder community. There's great camaraderie in fantasy football and really in the sports world as a whole. But I want to get to know a little bit about Dave. And I know there's so much value out there that you could add to the average Joe out there, because you are the average Joe. You are the average American. You work hard. You have a couple of jobs. You do what you can to make ends meet. And you're a hard worker, and you're a dedicated guy, and you've always been a loyal guy. And really, like I said in the intro, you are salt of the earth. So let's learn a little bit about your childhood. What was it like being born and raised in Youngstown?
Well, we all say it's Youngstown. We all have our suburbs of the city of Youngstown. I grew up in Austintown originally. I was born in Youngstown, St. E's. My mother and father, they worked hard. That's all I ever seen. Like, my dad was always at the steel mill, for the first 20 some years of my life. But and my mom was at the hotel, Motel 6, Econo Lodge, and Knights Inn. But originally it was Knights Inn, where she started off as just a front desk clerk. Actually, no, she started off in the laundry department, but she worked her way up to front desk management, and then she became the manager of Knights Inn, and then they sold the property to the Patels, and they made it into an Econo Lodge and a Motel 6, which that was my first job when I was 15. I was maintenance, just to get me into the workforce. Mm-hmm. And, I kind of did the same thing. I started in maintenance, and then I worked into front desk. And after, I would say, about a year and a half at the front desk, when I turned 18, I was promoted to manager. And, I oversee both properties. I was able to do all the paperwork, kind of helped my mom out, helped me out. But unfortunately, she was given goals to hit, and she hit them all. But they promised her raises, and when she asked for them, they basically said if she didn't like it, there's the door. Mm-hmm. And she had told me to stay on, that it was a good opportunity, but she was going to leave. And I did. I stayed on. And in that time, I hired a bunch of my local friends, and they all either worked the front desk or maintenance. And it was kind of like a starter for everybody. And one thing led to another. And there was an incident that someone stole the deposit. And I left it there for the new manager of he was over me. And he called me up and asked me to leave a deposit out for him, which I did. And next thing you know, it's missing. I had to go to school. So I get a phone call saying they want to meet me at some Akron hotel. So my mom came with me. They sat me down and said that if I don't pay the money back, that I don't have a job for the company. And, at that point, I had given, 4 years of my life to this place. But my mom, 25 or so years. I mean, she was there forever. And they basically were accusing me without accusing me. And I took insult to that. And I kicked the chair down. I told everybody to go politely, have a nice day, maybe not so nice of words. And that was my last day there. But I know you said childhood, but that's a memory that I have to just state out there, because I've seen all the hard work that my parents put in, and mm-hmm. that right there was one of my moments of know your worth.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, you were 15 when you started working there, right?
yes.
So you had a kind of a big boy job at at an early age, and like you said, your dad's spent 27 years at the steel mill. Your mom spent 25 years with this company, starting as low as you can go, and that's doing the laundry and the bed sheets and everything like that, and working
Yep.
your way all the way up to management. And what a lot of folks don't realize, maybe in today's world, that Youngstown used to be a big time blue collar steel mills and just auto plants. I know GM was there.
Steel, Wheatland too. There was a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of that stuff's gone overseas, and you've got a lot of abandoned steel plants there now, and you've got a lot of abandoned auto. It's as if it's been kind of wiped off the map in a way. And you've got some of the suburbs that are still thriving, but not like how it was back in the day. And both of my grandma and grandpa are from Austin town too. So guys, it's right next to, it's pretty much in the Youngstown metro area. And they have 2 cents passed. But so I do have that Youngstown blood in me as well, and I think that's where the one commonality that we had when we first met. My cousin played football for the Steelers, and now he's a coach. He's been coaching there for a long time, and then having my roots, generations of tallies in Youngstown. But I never got to experience growing up there because we moved when I was 3. My mom kind of got out. It's kind of one of those towns, if you don't get out, you'll kind of be trapped there forever. The majority of people that live in Youngstown it's generations and generations, the same job, the same car, the same house. Life is a lot different where you come from and where we were born. Than it is, say, living on the West Coast, where everything changes all the time. You have new houses going up all the time. You have new stores coming up all the time. Everything is new. In Youngstown, it's old. Everything is kind of old, unless you, like I said, you go out into the suburbs a little bit, and then it's starting to get more updated and newer. But like, that is one hard town, and I know Youngstown has a mentality that, like, you're tough. If you're from Youngstown and you grew up there, I know I've heard so many stories from my Uncle Jimmy, from my Uncle Ricky, about life growing up there, when they were coming through in the 60s and 70s, and that's a hard town. It's a very hard town, and it'll definitely make you a man real quick, growing up on the streets of Youngstown. But let's move on. So you would see your family, your mom and dad set that example at a young age. They've had these jobs for a long time. You understood the value of a dollar. You understood the time that they spent away from the house and the sacrifice of raising a family and keeping the household together and paying the bills and all that stuff. Do you think that had something to play with kind of like where you are today? Because I mean, look, let's face it, you're a successful guy. You have definitely been down a path that probably hasn't been the easiest of paths, but you've always persevered and you've shown resilience, and you've really always hung in there. And you've always stayed loyal to your employers, and you've been able to build some great relationships over the years. Explain that.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be honest with you, like you said, it was steel mill town. So when originally I had got into the steel mill industry, and I was going from steel mill to steel mill because, when you get in, you're the new guy. So you have to get through a probationary period. And after like 3 to 6 months, just depending on the company you work for, when there were layoffs, you're first to go. So like when you got comfortable in a job there, and I'll name a couple, like YSD Industries, General Extrusion, or even in Salem, American Standard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I learned a lot of skills at all these jobs that I worked at. I didn't want to just be hopping around. I wanted to have like that 25-year retirement or 20-year retirement and try something else with the second part of life. And, for a better part of like a decade, it was like bouncing around because nothing was like a guarantee. And that's when poker came in, and that changed my life. I,
Explain the poker and where poker has taken you.
well, to be honest with you, I learned how to play Texas Hold'em when I was young from a grandpa. Back then, it was a 5-card stud, and they changed the game variations to make it quicker and
Mm-hmm.
for profits. At the end of the day, what's every casino's agenda? It's bottom dollar. So if you can get hands out quicker, it used to be hand shuffling, and then it went to automatic shufflers because it's just quicker. You don't have that delay, so every second counts and every dollar matters. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, when I was working at a giant warehouse, and there was an ad on TV about Mountaineer Racetrack had passed gaming, and they're looking to hire like I want to say like 1,000 people, and all various types of employment. Well, the one that stuck out to me was poker
Mm-hmm.
because table games you had to split your tokes, meaning if you're a hard worker and you're great at your craft, you're sharing it with somebody who might not be working as hard. So I looked at it that like I wanted to be more individual because like you hold yourself accountable to a good day or a bad day, and your job is to always be smiling, always to make that person sitting across from you like they could be having the worst day of their life, but they're there because they're there for a reason. Either trying to make money to pay a bill, or they're there to make friends because they don't have that outside of their work. There's all different reasons why people go to a casino. So I picked poker because I felt that was something I was passionate about when I was young. We played when I was in high school. We had all different variations of the game, and we would meet up on weekends and a bunch of friends. We would play all different types of games, and it was the greatest times of our lives. I feel, other than
Mm-hmm.
playing sports as a kid. But uh, so I took that and I auditioned. I passed my audition, and in the audition at Mountaineer, they said that they needed some help with training some dealers. So I offered to help while I wasn't even an employee yet. I mean, I passed the audition, but I still had to go through orientation and all this stuff. But I said I would help out just because I knew a little bit more than somebody else might have, and there were other people like that there. There just wasn't enough. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just with anything with repetition, like how do you pitch a card, or how do you cut checks, like all things you want to do in a like to me to be professional at it, you want to be fast, but you want to be efficient and you want to make it look clean. So you want your cards to just pitch in the air and go around the table, like keep them like low to where nobody can see the whole cards to keep the integrity of the game, but to
Mm-hmm.
keep them accurate so people aren't like reaching all over the table or short arming it. So you want them to be comfortable too. And be honest with you, that's what got me into poker. And then, I worked 2 jobs even then. I was working full
Mm-hmm.
time there and full time at the giant warehouse. So I always liked having 2 jobs. It just, you know, I wanted to, at first I went to college like anybody else, and I was unsure of what I wanted to do, and I think I made bad choices when I first went, so that's when I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that maybe it wasn't for me, and then later on I tried to go back again because I felt like, you know, I love what I do for a living. I could do this, for the rest of my life just because it is enjoyable. You have your good days, your bad days, but you always got to just put a smile on your face and make somebody else's day better. Even and you know about that. You have to if you're hurting, no matter how you feel, you got to fake it to make it basically. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah, yeah.
and in the dark is when you talk to your friends, family, loved ones about like issues
Mm-hmm.
you're having to help take some
Right.
of the weight off.
Right. And you're a regular guy,
Yeah.
from Ohio. And you are a poker dealer and a damn good one at that. And like I said, you're kind of meant for that job because you're genuine, you're sincere, you are very easy to talk to, and your
Appreciate that.
outgoingness could really help bring some really good vibes to a poker table, and that's the mission of the casino. Is we want to have a great rapport with our customers, and it really starts with folks like you. Now, it's funny you would end up in a career like this because a lot of people don't know about Youngstown, Ohio.
Mhm.
Youngstown, Ohio is the mecca of gambling.
Yes.
It is the mecca of sports gambling. It is the mecca of the horses, the horse tracks, the races, the cigars. Folks, back in the day, Youngstown was a major union town because of the steel mills. They had the mob there in Youngstown, and money would change hands like you have no idea.
Yes.
And there's some very interesting stories out there about how Youngstown came to be, and so on and so forth. Just do a little Google search and you'll know what I mean. But
Yeah.
the the sports industry, from the boxing, a lot of boxing. There was a lot of fighters from Youngstown, a lot of football players.
Yes.
And like I said, a lot of the times in that town, you had the underground stuff that was going on way prior to anything going legally in there.
Yes.
So it's kind of funny that you're a guy who's now 40 years old, 42 years old,
Yep.
and you have gotten into something that is kind of like the blood of Youngstown. To be a poker dealer and to do it right. At 5 years old, your grandpa started to teach you how to deal and play 5-card stud and all that stuff. It's just rooted in a lot of people in Youngstown. It really and truly is. Plus, you guys are diehard Steeler fans.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know there's a big, there's always a big border there between the Browns and the Steelers. But let's face it, the Steelers, have always been the better of teams. And if you're a Browns fan, you live on one side of Youngstown, and if you're a Steelers fan, you kind of live on the other side. But that there is a big rivalry there, and my family is all still in Youngstown, and half of them are Steelers fan, and the other half are Browns fans. But as life has gone on, unfortunately, it sucks. But I've lost a lot of my family members. And it makes it really hard for me to go back out there because without some really important people in my life being there, it just wouldn't be the same. And but I got to make it back out there to visit the family I still do have out there, that I love and appreciate, and to include you.
I'll tell you what.
Now,
I know I'm in Columbus, but I'd make the trip back if I knew you were coming in town to visit.
Oh yeah, buddy. Yeah. Now you have dealt some poker in some pretty big time tournaments.
Big tournaments, and they created a hand requirement called the Bad Beat Jackpot.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at Mountaineer, it was in other casinos around, but it was new.
So explain this casino. Where is this casino? What's the vibe of the casino? And describe that deadbeat.
Oh, all right. Well, it was in Chester. It was Mountaineer Racetrack, MTR Gaming. That was the first place I worked. And, it started off with, I believe, 30 tables that turned into 42 or 46. It was huge. It was on the track side. So
Mm-hmm.
it was it was a gambler's paradise, I should say, because you could bet on the horses and you could play poker. And you had cocktails everywhere. You had slots. I mean, it was like, it was the best of both worlds if you were a gambler. And at the time, to deal a Bad Beat Jackpot, like it was there. It's anyone who deals, that's like a goal you have, because you just want to feel that, like, that emotion of like, I finally did it. Like, like dealing royal flush, like you're dealing for years. You could deal for several years, a lifetime, and never deal one. But the more and more you do something, the odds are you're going to eventually hit one time. Well, that time happened to me, in 2009, I dealt bad beat jackpot for, I believe it was $212,000, and there were 9 players at the table, and one of the players that was missing from the table was my friend that came with me. His name was Steve Fielder, and he had missed a hand, so everybody got paid out. It was like $100,000 to the guy who lost the hand. It was quad kings to quad jacks. So the guy who had the losing hand, who may have lost maybe $2,000-3,000 on the hand, then he has the lowest of the lows, because it's like hard to lose with nut hands. But that's why it's called the bad beat jackpot. And the fact that he lost, he then won $106,000. So it was like a very short low to an amazing high. And just to be in that, like, everyone was so excited. Hell, I was even excited. I was nervous. I couldn't believe it. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I can't believe my friend missed a hand just because he wanted to go get a hot dog. But, lo and behold, he had talked to the players at the table, and, they agreed with him. If he didn't get up from the table, the hand never gets dealt. And, they cut him in. And he actually ended up being the larger winner because he didn't have to pay any taxes.
Hot dogs will change your life, folks. You just got to go grab a hot dog at times.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you just never know. But yeah, like that was in West Virginia, and life there, I was there for 3 years. I tried to stay there longer, but when Pennsylvania had passed their gaming, a lot of dealers left, a lot of players left, and slowly the room went from 40 games to, we moved over to the opposite side of the casino, and I think it was like then a 20 table room, then down to a 12 table room, then they moved it to an even smaller location. They just kept moving it, and I love the fact they gave me the opportunity, and I've met a lot of amazing people. I learned a lot from there, but it was time to move on. And so I waited about 6 months. I tried to stay as long as I could, and then I'm a Steeler fan, diehard Steeler fan. So what's the next goal for me? Well, why not work right next to the stadium with the Rivers Casino?
Yep.
And what was even better there is that the management was one of my friends. So it was like, just go in, got the job, started working. And, you meet so many different people, like players, dealers, staff, and you build like lifetime connections. Like, they say keep your circle to in the palm of your hand, but you can have that extended circle where you have everybody else. And there's a lot of people that are in that circle that I still talk to today. I mean, they'll come and visit me in Columbus, or I'll go play golf with them in Pittsburgh or whatever. Like, just it's amazing to be a part of something like that, because there's so many people, and they all have their separate lives they're living. But at the end goal is that we're all hard workers, and we're trying to make money to support ourselves, family, and etc.
Right.
And I spent 5 years in Pittsburgh, and I loved it. One of my best friends, Jay Moore, he had season tickets to the Steeler games, and he would call me and say, "Hey, you want to go to a game?" And I'd get off of work at like 9 a.m, and I'd be like, "Sure." So I would stay there all day. So on Sundays, I'd go right from work. I'd bring a jersey with me. It'd be bitter cold, freezing weather, and I'd bring a heavy jacket and whatnot. But just getting them the Philly steaks before the game, and getting the hot coffee at the game, maybe a beer, and just being in that, like, the environment of, so many different people from Pittsburgh or all around the world. They're all there, like, enjoying it on every Sunday, Monday, championship game, Super Bowl, whatever. I got to see a lot of things that I wouldn't have had if I had not met friends through playing poker. It's definitely blessed me. And how I ended up where I'm at currently in Columbus, I was coming down here to visit with my best friend, Mirko. He lived here first for a few years, he established himself a pretty decent life. And he asked me to, if I wanted to change some things up, come on out here. So he opened his apartment or his condo up to me, and I stayed with him for, I think it was a year and a half. We started a business together, and a lot of things happened in that year and a half, and then eventually he met the love of his life, and they got married. And I then got my own place, and then my brother moved in town. And a lot of stuff happened in between, but that's what brought me to Columbus. And I met people that worked in Columbus from their days of gambling in Pittsburgh because they couldn't play in their own casino.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of the guys there are like, hey, man, we like the way you deal. Why don't you come out to Hollywood? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I got a pretty good gig here. But I thought to myself, I was going back and forth quite a bit, visiting my friend. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not take a gamble? So I did. I moved to Columbus.
Take a gamble, huh?
Yeah. Hey, that's what life's about, right? If you ain't taking
literally.
literally. But life's all about gambling. We ain't here without gamblers. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. In in anything and everything you do in life, you have to have that leap of faith. And
Yes.
a leap of faith is gambling. Whether you're starting a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're unless you're taking that leap of faith, you're never going to grow. You're never going to get out of that comfort zone. You're never going to evolve as a person and ultimately get to where you want to be. Like they say, right now in the present day, where you are at right now, is it where you wanted to be when you set that goal 5 years ago? I want to be here. And because life is always forecasting. Life is always looking ahead. And that's why a lot of people suffer from anxiety, because it's the worry, it's the fear, it's the constant, oh man, am I going to make it? Am I going to do it? And a lot of people fail to enjoy the actual journey itself to get to those stages of life. And I admit, I'm guilty too. But that's how, we grow, and, we evolve, and we have these new opportunities that happen. And like I said, and if you're stuck in a comfort zone or whatever it may be, you're never going to grow. So taking that leap of faith, having that gambling instinct to get out there. And folks, I'm not talking about dropping your paychecks here. I'm talking about the leap of faith.
Yes.
Life is a gamble. It truly is. And when you look back on it, you will see how those gambles worked or didn't work. It could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be a date. Boy, do I want to go out and meet somebody on this blind date? Well, that's a gamble. That's a gamble, right? And then you show up, you're like, oh yeah, not what I was expecting, and then you're racing for the doors. But hey, you live to fight another day, right?
Amen. And
so,
I believe that like you got to have God in your life. Like you got to have faith. You got to have belief. Like you might have the thought and the drive, but the path's always laid down by the man upstairs. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
But with that being said, get back to the poker. I love being in the casino environment, but a lot of things you give up to live that life, like time with family, missing a lot of holidays. For the better part of 13 years in dealing in the casino industry, in a casino, I felt like that was like, the best thing. And then I kept hearing about poker clubs. And then in 2020, when the pandemic hit, casinos were one of the things that they cut. Like, they cut down employment. They cut the poker room because the people being too close to each other. And there was a player that would come in. His name was Justin Griffiths, and today's his birthday, actually. Happy birthday, Justin.
Happy birthday.
He gave me an opportunity. I had other friends that I worked with at the Hollywood, and I was like, hey, do you think I think I can get a job to work there because they never closed. They stayed open through everything. But, they also put partitions up, to separate players. And we went from like 10-handed games down to like, 7-handed games or 8-handed games. We minimized to the spread, allegedly. I don't want to knock it because, people did get sick and whatnot, but I just feel that, where I'm at now currently is the Shark Tank Poker Club. And it feels like more of a family environment. Like you can have a life. Like, when during major holidays, we're off. They want you to have like, time with your families. They don't want you to feel like you're just a number and you're replaceable in a heartbeat, like anybody is in any job. But I just feel more like a family environment working at the Shark Tank, and they offer so many great things. I mean, like tournament wise, from your rookie players to your skilled players. I if anyone's out there listening to this that would ever like to get involved with poker or learn how to play, and maybe even jump in a tournament, come on out to the Shark Tank, Bethel Road. That's all I can say about that.
Where is the Shark Tank located?
Worthington off of Bethel Road.
People that are listening to this that may be coming out to your area, they could be living in Arizona or California.
Yeah.
They don't know where that road is. Can you throw maybe a city out there? Or?
Oh, it's cool. It's Worthington. It's in Columbus.
Okay, so it's in Columbus. Okay, so the Shark Tank is in Columbus, and a lot of people go to Columbus on business. So you might be out there one night, want to grab a cigar and some beer, sit down with the old Feckster, and have him deal you a winning hand at the Shark Tank.
I can't say enough about all the great dealers that are there. So
it's good to see you happy.
Yeah.
I know life hasn't been easy for you.
No.
Like it is for most people.
Yep.
So because of COVID, you were forced to start another career. I got to make ends meet.
Yep.
I've got a car.
Yeah.
Maybe I can, say, maybe I start driving for Uber, and explain that transition from, and I know you're still a poker dealer, but now you've got another gig that you're doing because you had to replace that income with something, and not just staying home and just living inside. You decided, hey, look, I'm going to continue to work. I'm going to continue to be a contributor, and I'm also going to continue to build relationships, through one person at a time. Explain how you became an Uber driver.
Well, to be honest with you, when I first moved out here in 2015, I heard about Uber, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna sign up and give it a shot, see what it's about. And they gave you, I think in the beginning it was like a $500 bonus, like after you completed like your first, like, I think it was like 30 trips or something like that. And I was like, all right, sure, we'll see what it's about. And when I say that, like, if I drove during a Ohio State football game, I could pick somebody up downtown. It'd be like 12x, 20x. So if you would normally have paid like $25 for that trip, like you're paying like $300 to $400 to go home. And at that time, people were getting so drunk. Not saying that they don't now, but at that point in time, like that was the very beginning. Like they're just like, hey, rideshare. Like they were kind of promoting, like, if you're going to get drunk, like then use Uber. So I thought, well, hey, maybe I can make a few dollars. Like there were days I made $1,200 in a day, and I may have took like 20 people, but it's those big rides home, get stuck in traffic for an hour, and then taking them all the way out to like past Powell, and that's like a 30-minute drive itself. like let alone being stuck in that traffic. So you think about it, man, $350 for that trip. That was worth it. It was worth the hour and a half. And then you go back down because more people need to go out. You just do that a few times a night. Well, everything was running high, like it was running great. And I was like, well, dude, this is awesome. There wasn't many drivers back then. There were drivers. There was so many people, not enough drivers. So that's why we got money like that. But over the course of the time, the more drivers there were, the less that number went from 20x down to 15x, down to 10x. Like now you'll get them. Sometimes you'll still see them like, 3 to 12, depending on the type of game, or event going on at the particular time, or all of them combined together. But I didn't stay driving with Uber long because in the first 6 months, someone got sick in my car, and they
drunk people.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that. I had a phone call that just came through.
So you had a drunk person that got sick in your car, and you're like, no more.
Yeah, they gave me $250, and like they puked down the inside part of the door.
No, man.
And like it just, I got rid of the car after that. Like I was like, I'm stepping away.
Yeah, you can't get rid of that smell.
So then, 5 years go by. Pandemic hits. I'm working at the Shark Tank, and then I got an email saying that they're offering bonuses, $150 for 3 trips, and I'm like, oh sure, what the hell? So I did it. In literally 30 minutes, I had 3 trips. I made $210. I was like, huh, not bad. I was like, let's see what happens. So I took it. I kept doing it. I found that I was getting some good trips, some bad trips. Like, and when I say bad trips, like you're driving like 8 miles out of the way to go pick somebody up. When, like, to me, 8 miles doesn't sound far, but it is when it's back roads. And it's all a matter of time. So if you're 8 minutes out, by the time you pick someone up, you're probably taking them, or 8 miles out, you're probably taking them 12, 15 miles in. So that round trip, if it don't make sense, you ain't making money.
Well, yeah, and then you got the wear and tear on your vehicle. You've got fuel, and fuel isn't cheap right now.
Oh gosh, no. The only thing is I did switch to a hybrid, and that's the only reason why I'm doing this, because I went from getting 380 miles to a full tank to getting 520, and it averages 38.5 miles to gallon. And I have a Honda CRV hybrid 2022, and if I didn't have a car, I wouldn't even do it. But I do it now, and I flip. I go from Uber and I do Lyft. They offer bonuses at different times. They were offering like 3 trips for $27 bonus. So if I made $35 on the trips and $27 bonus, I mean, that's $62 in the hour. That's not bad. So you factor in $6 for the hour for gas, then wear and tear, like, yeah, that's $50 an hour. You know what I mean? So
right.
It made sense to do it. And, I wasn't doing it full time. I was doing both, working at the club and continuing. That's what I do now. And it has its good days and its bad days. And then there's forums out there that people talk about what they experience out on the road. And for a company that you have different tiers. You have your gold. You want to try to become a blue, a pro driver, which is blue or gold or diamond or platinum. Well, I worked all the way through the tiers, and I'm platinum. I've been platinum for the last 6 months. And it's like as soon as you got to the top, because when you get up here, there's nowhere else to go. They tell you you're going to get all these extra bonus trips, and you're going to, just because you're the one dedicating your time to the company. And at first, it started out that way. I felt like I was getting trip after trip after trip, and it's like there was no lull. Now, Lyft came to town, and they got the contract at Ohio State. So where it used to be Uber everywhere, now it's if I turn the Uber app on, there's a lot of glitches, and the glitches cost you from accepting trips. So I'll have trips come across, and I'll say it'll be $35 trip, and I'll click accept, and then it just starts spinning. Then it cancels the trip, says it was accepted by another driver.
Yeah, it's so diluted.
Yeah, and they're like, what the hell? And they hold you accountable to a acceptance rate, which my rating as a driver is, I think it's a 99.5. I mean, like, that's with as many trips as I've had 3,000 trips. It's hard to do.
3,000. You have given 3,000 trips. You've given people. What's it like driving people? I mean, 3,000 trips. Have you had any memorable conversations that you've had with any of the people that you've driven around?
Man,
any stories you could share?
It's hard to say. I've met a lot of different people, and one of the great things is that being a driver, you can listen to music, you can listen to podcasts, and that's what I do. So I gauge the conversation on how I'm gonna move forward with them. So usually when they get in the car, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Like they'll give you vibes if they want to talk or if they're just trying to get to their destination. Well, I always I got a friendly face. I'm always smiling. So when they get in the car, I try to make them feel at home. I got a charger ready for them.
I just want to squeeze your cheeks. All right, go ahead.
I'll tell you this right now. I did pick up a couple of UFC fighters. That was
nice.
That was a memorable moment. They're both actually in the limelight right now. He just fought. He missed the weight by 7.5 pounds. He was supposed to fight Nate Diaz. Why am I drawing a blank right now? It's probably because I have a headache. It's pounding. It's knocking on my head. But yeah, the two UFC fighters were in Khabib Nurmagomedov's camp, and he was, he undisputed champ. Beat Conor McGregor a couple times. Actually, I think he only beat Conor once, but that's all he needed to do because he beat the piss out of Conor. But what I liked most about that trip is that how down to earth the guys were. Like you see them on TV and they're warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see them in person. I didn't think for a second. I'm like, they had heavy jackets on, so I'm like, they weren't huge, but that guy that was sitting in my back seat that I felt like he isn't that much. He would destroy me in a blink of an eye, just because he's a trained fighter. And killer at that. These guys that are trained with their hands, they have they're lethal weapons.
Yes, they are.
To the average Joe, you're just a KO waiting to happen.
Yeah, they are combative fighters for sure.
I'll tell you what, that trip was fun though, because their manager, he was very talkative, and they offered me they asked me to come in to watch the fight with them. Like, you got tickets to the fight? And I'm like, yeah, I already had tickets because my buddy, I got tickets for the group of us. And he's like, oh man, you could have been sitting ringside with us. And I'm like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah. I was like, oh man. Now I'm starting to think, well, I spent money on tickets. Now that's where my mind is. I spent money on tickets and I had other people coming with me. So I was like, you know what? I appreciate the offer. But most people probably would have went. I could have been backstage with those guys at the time of my life. Instead, I chose the good thing. I wanted to spend time with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I was like, that's who I am. I've never been truly I don't say selfish. I've never been selfish at anything in life. I've always tried to be there for friends, family, loved ones, whatever.
Yes, you are. You are a selfless man, and you're right. There are so many relationships to be had out there. I still remember my Uber rides from being in Washington, D.C. And one name comes to mind, Melissa Bracey, from D.C. She stood out to me, and we probably had 60 rides, and the 5 different trips I was there, 5, 10, 15, at least 20, 25 working days. So yeah, I probably had at least a minimum of 50 trips.
Yeah.
And she was awesome, man. We're Facebook friends to this day. I met her in 2018, 2019. And just great person. She works her own hours. She makes enough money. She goes on vacation all the time. She just, she lives a life of gratitude, and she does what she wants, and she sets her own schedule, and she builds relationships. And that's kind of like being an Uber driver. It's definitely something that you need to have some sort of relationship builder skills. Do you have anything else that comes to mind? Like, what do you do if the guy that just gets in, or the girl that gets in, they don't really want to talk, they don't want to do, what do you, like, just turn up the radio?
No,
Do you
I
listen to
turn
podcasts? Do you listen?
Yeah, I definitely I ask if they mind if I turn on my podcast, and they're like, no, we like listening to podcasts. So of course, who am I going to turn to? Tuesdays with Tally, because I feel that you add value.
Awesome.
Your show adds value. The people, the amazing veterans and individual people you've had on your show. Everyone that gets in that car, if it's a half-hour trip, a 10-minute trip, by the end of that trip, they're just like, what's the podcast again? I'm like, Tuesdays with Tally. I was like, check it out, Spotify, YouTube.
Oh, good.
I was like, I'm always plugging you, because I'm like, I feel there are people that got in my car that when they got out, they were like fighting back tears. And that to me, like, speaks volumes, because it's such an impact that you are giving to people these days, and others that are on your show. It's just, I just think it's amazing. And
man,
I like getting you out there.
Man, you just hit me in the heart, man. Thank you.
Of course.
For doing that. And, I think today is day 57, and your episode 51. So I've definitely taken the bull by the horns on this and have ran with it. And again, it was a calling from God to get out there and give the voiceless a voice, and tell some stories of just great people, and regular everyday Joes. What I want you, we've got about 5 minutes left here.
Okay.
I want you to speak directly to our listeners, and I want you to just preach. I want you to just share some words of wisdom, or any sort of advice that you have for anybody out there living with anything that they may be going through, or etc.
The only advice I could say is that don't keep things in. You can package all the pain away, but all it does is lead to more anxiety. I suffer from anxiety myself, and I say that, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. Like, I suffer from a ton of back pain. I've had surgery. It feels like somebody's strangling me daily. But after seeing podcasts like this and other podcasts I listen to, and people out just walking anywhere in public, that have it worse. There are so many people out there. Like, when you look at a story, you're like, man, I couldn't imagine living like that, or living with this or that. And then you see someone else in the street that is 10 times worse. You can only say, be thankful that you're able to breathe there. If you could put food in your bellies, and each day's a blessing. So to make the most of it. And that's the message I would say. Make the most of every breath you got. That's why I took so many trips over the last few years, because we don't know when, especially with what they're telling us, we don't know what tomorrow brings. So, live for the moment. You want to save for retirement and all this, that, and the other, but not saying I'm not. I'm living for the moment, and my advice is everyone to do the same. Live for the now, not live for the time you don't know if you have it.
Enjoy the journey. That's something my brother just said a couple of days ago when I had my brother on. He was talking about some of the stories that he saw when he was in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Pakistan, flying I don't know how many combat missions, 50, I think.
That's great.
And and I asked him, I said, hey, do you have any advice for our listeners out there? He goes, yeah. He goes, actually, I do. And he said to take that trip, to take that vacation. If you've been wanting to move. If you want to build that new house, build it. Take that leap of faith. Take that gamble, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to live. We're not here to be afraid. We're not here to be locked in a room and not experience life outside. And it's the little things. It's sometimes just sitting on a park bench and watching the leaves and the sights and the sounds of nature.
Yep.
And listening to the water, or people watching and seeing how involved they are with their phones every day, and seeing the habits of how they drive, watching people eat in restaurants, what they order, how fast they're in and out, the fast pace of life, that sometimes you need to slow down and enjoy the moment. We are so brainwashed to live this 150 mile per hour life that if we don't, someone's going to take it from us. And it's true. You got to work hard always, but you also have to stop and enjoy the moment at times. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm not perfect. I don't have it down set, but I do take those steps to make myself 1% better. And being that 1% better, what I like to explain a lot, is doing just that. Going out and sitting on that bench, watching the ducks, watching the herons fly into the lake, just the sounds, the sights, the sounds, and the experiences, the smells, just life and traveling and seeing new things and meeting new people and having opportunities to perhaps inspire others to live their best life. So, I think that's great. I think that's great advice, Fecko.
Hey, your 1% could be 100% for somebody else. Your 1% better can give 100% better life value to someone else.
Well, I appreciate that. I was never a very vulnerable man until January of 2016. And so now I am. I open up. I feel like as if I can help one person out there every single day. You can't change the world, but you can change the world through one person at a time.
Absolutely.
Again, and find those commonalities. All right, we got a minute left.
I feel we could have kept going. I had so much more, so definitely gonna have to have me back on, so we can get more depth combos.
What's your pick for the World Series? Who's gonna win the World Series?
Oh, I'm a Yankee fan, man, so I'm gonna back Judge in that 62.
All right, I'm going Astros.
Hey, maybe we'll meet there.
Now, I can't believe the Padres actually made it. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait for playoff baseball. It's the best time of the year.
Oh, it is. That was my first passion. I love it. But I'm so thankful you had me on today. I really am. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, man, the pleasure is all mine. Keep working hard out there in the community, and keep building those relationships. And I know you're making the world a better place. By just spreading your God-given skills out there. With the relationships and the communication, the effective communication that you're allowed to share with so many people. You can touch so many people out there, and I know you do every day. So, Dave, you have yourself a great day. And again, thanks for having or thanks for being on the show.
You too. God bless. Love you, brother.
For Tuesdays with Tally, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God bless.